What does this rare Sony transistor radio have in common with Sony's very first radio? I'm not talking about the TR-55, but Sony's very first. The one that never made it to market, the one of which only a handful were made and none ever left Sony. This Sony TR-69 from 1958 is one of only two Sony radios to pick up a design cue from Sony's very first radio, the TR-52. We refer to the TR-55 as Sony's first, and it is, in terms of a Sony radio offered for sale, but the TR-52 predates the 55 and never made it to market. One of its design cues to be picked up by a later model is its grille, which was turned sideways and used on 1961's AM and FM model TFM-95, what Sony called their portable car radio. The other design cue from the TR-52 was employed on this radio, the one we're looking at today, the TR-69. Can you see what I'm talking about? It's the dial. This simple but attractive Sony radio had another claim to fame, too. It's Sony's first convertible. No, not that kind. A radio convertible is a portable radio that docks to a stationary companion for home use. Sometimes that home unit is merely a power supply which has larger batteries that take over for the smaller batteries in the radio to preserve them. Sometimes that home unit plugs into house current to save the radio's batteries. Sometimes that home unit includes a larger speaker or even additional amplification. Various convertible docks were seen with all different combinations of these features. As to this TR-69's speaker box, all I've got is this line drawing in this book. I wish I had the actual thing to show you, but I don't. It's an exceedingly rare radio, and the speaker box, as you might imagine, is much rarer still. I do know, however, that this speaker box is configured like the Craig speaker box here. It doesn't plug into a wall socket for power, but instead feeds power to a docked radio from large internal batteries. And while it has a larger speaker, there is no amplifier circuitry inside to boost the radio's output. All of the shirt pocket radios Sony was making at the time were in a vertical format, taller than they were wide. All of the larger radios Sony was making were in a horizontal format. This TR-69 in a horizontal format is Sony's first shirt pocket radio to be made that way. It has a kind of a boxy look, that is to say, it is not very shapely. But it's a good looker, it can't be denied, with that nice underpainting, the clear dial window, and the pleasing visual effect of that half-silver, half-red dial. The volume control is labeled off and loud. You can see on the radio's side where it attaches to the speaker box. Power is provided to the radio through that squarish opening. And going in the other direction, sound is provided through that earphone jack, going from the radio into the larger speaker in the dock. The Sony TR-69 came out in 1958, a pivotal year for Sony. This was the year the company was first listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, and it was the year their first massively successful product was launched, the TR-610 transistor radio. It was also the year Sony became Sony. Before that, the company name was Tokyo Shushun Kogyo Limited, and Sony was just a name they had been putting on products since 1955. But here on this radio, you won't see mention of that old name anywhere. The label inside bears the new company name, Sony Corp. There's one thing more to mention about that label. It says Transistor 6 Superhet. But if you're one of those people who counts transistors when looking inside a transistor radio, you'll count 7. 6 of the early Sony oval transistors, and 1 in a cylindrical shape like these. Try to confirm the intended transistor count by looking for a number on the front of this radio, but it's not happening. Unlike most radios at the time, it does not boast about how many transistors there are inside. It modestly and unhelpfully just says transistor.